Oof. Right, let's recap Stitch Festival, shall we? One of the things I do when I am putting everything away and sorting it out is just starting to clear out stuff I don't use in my stand anymore. If I haven't used it in the last 2 shows, I'm probably not going to use it again. The stand is constantly evolving. However, a little tip, for your bag, if you use these signs, these letters fall off. So when you store it in a little bag, all the letters will be inside the bag if it gets lost or knocked during transport. Easy breezy. Oof, right, let's recap Stitch Festival, shall we? Hi! Hi, baby. I know. Hi, if you've never seen my face before, I'm Pigeon. I run the Pigeon's Nest. I am a crochet designer. I do haberdashery, kits, accoutrements, all the things to kind of embellish and enrich your crochet hobby. That is Chekhov. He is the emotional support dog. So let's talk about Stitch Festival, shall we? So if you don't know, Stitch Festival is a selling event here in the UK, and it happens at the end of March, and it is run by the same people who do the Knitting and Stitching Show, Ali Pally. It used to be the Spring Knitting Show, if any of you remember, pre-pandemic, and it kind of is now settled in like a bustling, diverse kind of area of London. They do it in Islington. It's beautiful. The venue's great. In the previous vlog, if you haven't watched it, I'll put it somewhere so you can see it. You would have just seen me do all my setup and the prep like the few days before the show. So it's a busy show. This year there was over 17,000 visitors, over 150 sellers, which is a lot. So the reason I came back to vend again at Stitch Festival is because of the hard data. Let's be honest here, I made a great profit last year. Oh, hi. Oh, hi. The demographic of the show is a bit younger than Knitting and Stitching Show. It is mainly kind of Gen Z, millennials with a smattering of Gen X. But generally it's kind of the right demographic for my business, which is why I go back again and again. Hi, bud. Okay, sorry. Excuse you. Oh, you're just gonna sit there. Okay, that's not gonna be a pain. Okay, buddy. Yeah, so the vibe really does fit with my business, which is why I do well at those shows. So that's why I go back. So let's talk prep and setup. You saw in the last vlog the prep that I did for this show, and actually this was a lot less this time than last year. Studio vlog 3, I think, is my prep for Stitch Festival for 2024, and I went into that show with no information, no data, nothing, and it was terrifying. I was really anxious about it. I didn't know what I was doing, and at least going in this year I was armed with data, which did make my life a lot easier. I mean, I had a day off, guys, on the Monday. I literally took a day off. That is unheard of. I cannot express to you how unheard of it is for me to have a day off, let alone a day off on the week of a show. It's unheard of. This year, one of the things I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to bare bones my stand a little bit. I took so many kits last year, we had to actually stack them out on show. I couldn't even hide the spares under the table. So this year, I looked at my data from last year and I worked out what sold. And then my hard data rule, if you've been here a while, you know I like a bit of hard data, is that I was going to take what sold plus a half. So if I sold 4 kits, this year I would take 4 plus 2, which is a half. So I would take 6 kits total. And that little kind of formula worked out really well for me. So I'll do that again because it was the right formula for me. I wish that I could be one of these people that turn up to a show and know exactly where everything's going on their stand. I never do. Part of that is because of the flow of how I think things are going to flow. Some of that is who's going to be opposite you, because if they've got something quite bulky in one area, I want to make sure that people can get around our stands and that it can still be accessible. And also, every show I do, I tend to have something new, which I've not displayed before because I'm insane. So this year I had a whole rail that I hadn't ever done before. I had project pouches, which I've not had taken to a big show like that before. Haberdashery things, like all the things. I never know how the stand's going to look until I'm there. I generally have a rough idea, but it's 100% vibes. So if you watch the last vlog, you will see there are points where we just kind of go, Kaiti and I just kind of go, this is not working. This is not working. And actually, the night of setup, I got really annoyed. Between 6 and half 6, I was trying to sort out the table layout, like the haberdashery section. And that throws me every time because I normally have a new kind of haberdashery come with me and I don't know how to set it out any better. So I will pop some footage in here. If you've got any suggestions of how I could set this up better, please let me know. I have just bought some like stand-up organisers for my pencils, so they don't have to be in that tray of doom anymore. They can at least be in like a pencil pot of doom. I do find people, we'll see how that goes, because I think the tray works really well because people can like scroll a little bit and have a look and have a rummage. But also some people don't want to have a rummage. You know, I've got to try and cater for that sweet spot where people kind of need it force feeding a little bit of like, these are the things. And they also kind of want to find out stuff for themselves. You know, it's a very fine line. Customers are tricky. I was really unhappy the night before when we left. And in the end, Kaiti literally dragged me out at 6:30 because the venue was closing and was like, you can do it in the morning. And he was right. I went back to his, and I spent maybe an hour and a half on Pinterest just looking at people's stands, because I just needed like something fresh, something I hadn't done before, maybe something I hadn't thought of, and all I did when I went back in is I took some stuff off the stand. It was too full, and that was the problem. And sometimes you don't know that until you are physically there looking at it with fresh eyes, having had a sleep. Sometimes you just need food and a sleep. That is life advice right there, not just small biz advice. Sometimes you need some food and a sleep, and everything will be much better in the morning. Cup of tea. So, the show is lovely to be part of, and I actually am very lucky to have such an amazing like community of small biz pals who also do the show. We actually go out for family dinner, like on one of the evenings. We'll like decide what night we're going to go out all as like a group and go out for dinner. It's super, super lovely. We kind of pick up waifs and strays. It's really lush. There's like a core group of 4 or 5 of us, and we collect waifs and strays for dinner, and it's really lovely. And we then just kind of chat shop and problem solve and just spend time together. It's so, so nice because the shows are so busy. You don't really get that time together, but unless before the show opens, and then by the time the show shuts, you're all like, I gotta go home. A thing I realise I do a lot at shows, and I do it a lot in my life, is I big sister a lot. There were some like brand new shiny squeaky sellers that were there this year, that I kind of, I want to say took under my wing because that sounds really pretentious, but like just spewed forth all the advice I could give them and like showed them the different sizes of stands, and generally wanted to be a port of call in like a scary sea, because knowing how I felt last year, it was very scary. So if I can, like, I'm a little further into the ocean, so if I can help people kind of get to where I am, I'm all for that. And yeah, so I do a lot of big sistering at shows, which is cool, but I'm very lucky that I have Kaiti there with me, who's doing big brothering, like, of me, like making sure I hydrate, making sure I eat. Another thing I love about the small business community that I've got at these shows is that we all share our data. I'll wander down to Neve at Wimpress Embroidery and be like, how's it going today? And it's not a like, oh yeah, it's going great. It's show me your numbers, how you doing? Like, I want to, like, let's share data, let's share information. This year, for example, Thursday was really quiet, and it actually set me on a bit of a wobble because last year's Thursday was insane. And and I made more money on the Thursday than I did on the Saturday, and everyone had said this is the quiet day, and by the end of that Thursday in 2024 I was on the floor just being like, what if this is the quiet day? Oh my god, Saturday's gonna be hell. And it wasn't, like, it was fine. But this year the Thursday had kind of gone back to normal, I guess, like having a chat to other people and seeing their numbers of how it correlated. Like, you can get vibes from people, but actually, if people are willing to share numbers and data with you, hold on to those people for dear life. And I am one of those people. I will happily show you the numbers for my contract next year. I know I actually did that with a couple of people who were asking how much the stand was, and I went, do you want to see my contract? And they were shocked that I was happy to show them how much it cost to be there. No, mate, like, of course. And also, it stops, you know, if we all talk about how much it costs us to be there, how much we're paying to do X, Y, and Z, it means that show organisers kind of have to be honest. They have to do the things they say they're going to do and charge the rates they say they're going to charge, because we're all chatting. I think it's a very old-fashioned way of thinking that we don't talk about money. And I think especially as women, especially as small businesses, we talk about money. We talk about profit. I'm never angry that one of my pals has had a much better day than me, because we have different price points. We have different audiences. My goals are different to other people's. Their goals are different to mine. They might have put way more money into the show than I have. So there's never any like jealousy. We're also just, we're looking at data. When I say we're looking at, like, tell me your numbers, how does that compare to last year for you, like percentage wise? Having small biz pals you can talk hard data with, you can be real with, and that you can like sibling each other is so vital for these shows, because you can feel really alone. It can be like the loneliest thing to do. But speaking of data, let's share some data, shall we? The best sellers of this show were, so in first place, bestseller of the entire show are my Betty bags. Now, I wholesale these in from another lovely small biz here in the UK, and the jelly bags I buy in and my scissors are the only things in my entire business I don't either design or physically make in my house. I hand wind all the yarn in every single kit. So I put every bead on every crochet hook. You know, I do everything apart from bags and scissors. They're the only things I buy in wholesale. So my best sellers were the big jelly bags. Then it was the crochet hooks. Then it's the smaller jelly bags. Then it was my Yes You Cardigan patterns. And then Froggo kits. Now, I think these are quite regular sellers for me. So the jelly bags always do really well. They're really nostalgic. They actually are great work in progress bags. And actually people enjoy buying them to carry around their other purchases in, rather than just like a paper bag. So people actually really enjoy purchasing them to use them at the show. So crochet hooks, I wasn't expecting them to be as popular, but last year was the first year I kind of took them to any show. So Stitch Festival 2024 was the first time I took them to any show, and they sold out by Saturday morning. So this time I had a lot more colours, I had a lot more sizes, so they didn't sell out, but they are definitely my second most, like the biggest thing that brings me income is the crochet hooks. They're a small purchase, they feel really nice, they're really tactile, they have a purpose, they're not just decorative. I have jackdaws roosting, like nesting in the ivy at the front of my house, the roses in the front of my house. They are so noisy, so I'm so sorry if you can hear them. I actually sold out of cardigan patterns this time, so I actually sold a load of digital copies as well. And I had my Year of Froggo set up this year. I had his little wardrobe that I'd made him, like I'd upcycled him, and he had his little outfits hung up. Had a little display explanation of what Euro Froggo was. So not only did I sell Froggo kits, I actually sold, like, I actually had members of the public joining my Patreon, which was amazing because that's a Patreon project. So yeah, that was great. Surprises, things I didn't expect to sell well, or that didn't sell well that I did expect to sell well, were my emotional support project pouches. Now, These are a relatively new thing that I'm doing. I have done pouches for a little while, but the emotional support project ones, I decided to do at the last minute, do a couple of different colourway ones. And I actually sold out of all my emotional support project pouches when I was there. And I do some other ones with another design on, and they got really low too. So pouches, I'm going to make sure I restock and take more for next time. I'm really shocked at how well they sold out. And actually I did a little restock of them in April and they all sold out again. So I think I need to like double down on those for a little while. The thing that didn't sell very well that I'm actually really shocked at are my Grannies on the Go travel blocking boards. Now, last year at the show, I sold over 60 of them. This year I sold 6. So that's a big difference. Last year they were on top of some shelves. So they had their own little area. They had their little board up. This year they were kind of tucked in the back end of the table. So I don't think they were displayed very well. I don't think it was very clear what it was. The fact that it was amongst other stuff, I think it needs like a little standalone spot. So that's something for me to consider for next year or for the autumn, because I'm doing knitting and stitching show in October. So it's definitely something for me to consider what I'm going to do with them to get that kind of back up. So it's selling at least like 10 or 15 or 20. I think that seems like a regular number. Let's talk hard data now. Let's talk about how much it costs to be there. So the cost to vend at this show, depending on the size of your stand, all that sort of stuff, this year for me it was £2,076.80, because that includes 4 lights. It was £419 for 4 lights. Yes, that is £100 a light, but you do need them at this show. It is vital, especially if it's an overcast day. It has got natural light in the building, but if it's an overcast day, it just makes the whole stand fall a bit flat. So you do need lighting. I probably could have got away with 3 lights, but because they recommend that you have 2 lights per 2 square meters, my stand is 6.75 square meters. So I'm just over, so I felt like the extra light was needed. It was needed, it was great, but you just have to account for that budgeting. So yeah, so just over £2,000. That also includes the van, which was 100 and something for the week, because we keep it for the week because we live really rurally, and trying to get out for my husband to pick up the van, he has to go into town, which is like a 15-20 minute drive with my kids that he's here like looking after. There's a whole logistics scene, guys, that I talk about a lot in the my other wrap-up video from last year, which I'll put here. So yeah, there's a lot of like that sort of stuff, the logistics stuff I'm not going to cover in this because I've already talked about it before. It doesn't get any easier. My kids are still around. So that's just that. So the takings over the 4 days, I took £5,507.16. I know. Which gives me a profit of about, I'm looking at my data, £3,430.36. So I have a hard rebook rule now. I used to just go on vibes and be like, yeah, it was a great show. Now with these shows costing so much to go to, I have a hard rebook rule. If I don't double the cost of me going, then I'm not rebooking. So I think it was until the Sunday morning, I wasn't sure. Actually, no, it was late Saturday afternoon. I wasn't sure if I'd be rebooking the show because I need it to be worth me going. I need it to be worth me not being with my family from Wednesday to Sunday, and me being a bit rubbish the week before as well because I'm prepping stuff, and then me being rubbish on the Monday when I get home because I'm exhausted from peopling for 5 days. So it needs to be double my booking cost or I don't go. I don't go back. It's not worth it. And that's really hard when you have so many of your lovely small biz pals there, because you want to go and like you feel like you're missing out, but actually you've got to think of the money. You've got to think of the hard data cost. Some of that is networking. Yes. There's a lot of people who found me from being at Stitch Festival who wouldn't have seen me before, but for the amount of faffery I have to do to go as a one-woman band with kids, and my husband takes days off work, it's got to be worth it. It's got to be worth it. So double or nothing. Double or we don't go back. So things I'll do differently next year is I'll take more Yes You Cardigan patterns, because I sold out on Saturday morning. And it's fine, like people can order it digitally online, but they did so well. I took 76 patterns and they all sold, because I had different samples. I had samples made up of the different styles of the cardigan, and they just out the door. As soon as I'm giving the spiel to one person, 3 people have picked it up behind me. So I need to make sure I'm taking over 100 copies of the Yes You Cardigan, because I think I could sell them in that 4 days. More of the Big Betty bags. So the pink ones all sold out on the Saturday morning. And my mum told me they would. So sometimes your mums are right. Most of the time they are. So yeah, mum said that they would sell out. I wasn't sure because it was a new colour, but she was right and I was wrong. So I have new numbers for what I'm going to be ordering for the Betty bags. I've been looking back at my data, working out what is worth restocking to what numbers. So before now, I've kind of been all restocking them to having about 12 or 13 of each of the bags. Now I'm going to be restocking to different criteria. So the pinks I'll be getting like 18 in, and the white ones I'll only have 6, and the yellows I'll only have 6, because they don't sell as well, but they do sell, they just don't sell as well. More pouches will be going next year. Most definitely 100%, because I could have sold those over and over and over again. And a lot of people ask me for half sizes of hooks, which I actually have done now. So actually on the website already, I already have half sizes of hooks there in all my designs. So, which is exciting. So I now have 3.5s, 4.5s and 5.5s. I'm not going any bigger than a 6, because I physically have to push the beads onto each hook, and it is a lot. It's a lot of finger strength. I'm going from a size 3 to up to a size 6 with all the sizes in between. So, but that's going to be another headache for how I laid out the haberdashery table next year. So, you know, good. I'm also being really tough, and I'm actually getting rid of 2 different colourways of kits that don't sell anymore or haven't sold for ages. So they're already reduced on the website. I'm actually getting rid of the pastel stripe cowl colourway and the Coastal Morris sunglasses kit colourway. I'm trying to simplify how many kits I've got in the unit. I've got 3 kits coming out this year, 2 or 3 kits coming out this year, and I need space, physical space in the unit. So I'm getting rid of stuff that doesn't sell anymore. So they are still on the website. If you fancy a slightly cheaper kit, hop on over there. I'm also getting rid of tote bags. Now, I will be showing you some of the stuff in later videos. It's already arrived. But I'm getting rid of regular tote bags. They're not the tote bags I wanted. They aren't the right size. The only reason I'm doing those tote bags through Tmail is that they didn't have the shopper totes in stock ever. I've taken them off the website now. I have got some left in stock that I bought for shows. They never sell at shows. If anyone's going to buy a bag from me, they're going to buy a jelly bag. They want something they can store a blanket in, or a cardigan. So I have some things in the works that link to the emotional support project pouches. I'm thinking about doing a big shopper emotional support project pouch bag. Emotional support project. Oh my god, that's so hard. Emotional support project big bag. But I think I'm going to do this on a pre-order, and I might not ever take any of those to shows. Actually, while stocks last, if you order over £40 in my shop, I'm going to send you a free Lucky Dip tote, because I want them out of my storage. I would like to say a massive, massive thank you to Kaiti and Mr. Pigeon, because I can't do these shows without them. I mean, I could drive myself all the way up to a show, and I could it would be so tricky to do. So I'm so grateful for Mr. Pigeon. And the reason that Mr. Pigeon doesn't stay with me at shows, I think I've had a few people ask, like, why doesn't your husband stay? We've got kids. And by the time we've dropped our kids off at school, we've got the van, we've loaded the van, we've driven to London, which is a 2-hour drive from here. He literally drop kicks me into my stand and leaves, and then Kaiti arrives, and like they pass the baton. of emotional support person. Kaiti really looks after me at these shows. He makes sure that I'm fed, that I'm hydrated, that I'm not losing the plot. And he is such a good sounding board. He knows my business so well. So I'm so grateful that these guys, they help me so much, and it's just fab. So next shows, I've already said I'm going to be at Knitting and Stitching Show in October, and this summer I'm also going to be at Carry On Crafting, which is a kind of, think of it like it's literally a festival for crafting. There are so many workshops you can book, there's loads of vendors. Generally it's all good vibes. You can camp. Actually, I don't think you can camp because the tickets are all gone. But yeah, come and get a day ticket, come and say hi. It's such a amazing, they've got a vintage field. It's so good. It's such a good show. We've been doing it since it opened. Kaiti and I share a stand. We have a double gazebo. It's all the fun of the fair. It's good times. So thank you so much. I think that's all the information I have to tell you. If you have any more questions, pop them in the comments below and I will answer them out all in the comments. Yeah, I think that's it. That's my roundup of Stitch Festival 2025. It was good. I'm going back. If you enjoy this sort of non-aesthetic, insane content, feel free to go watch some of my vlogs. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment. If you've got all the way to the end, I would love to see like a party emoji. Choose your poison. So pop that for me in the comments so I know you've got all the way to the end. Right, that's it. We're done. Goodbye. I will see you in the next one. Bye, my loves.